Hi, welcome back to Networking 101. This is Matt Witmer from Brody Precision. In this video, we're going to talk about DNS and host files. So looking back at our Niagara IP configurations screens that we've been referencing, we are going to be looking specifically at this DNS version 4 servers. So DNS, what is DNS? DNS is simply the Internet's equivalent to a phone book. Humans tend to interact with and memorize things well that are words, so things like google.com, espn.com, and browsers in the internet are mainly based on IP addresses. So the guys who, first got the internet and networking up and running realized that there was sort of a disconnect there if this was going to be a big worldwide thing. So we needed some sort of way to look up those IP addresses based on words. And DNSs give us that ability. So what DNS servers do is you punch in an address in your browser, and that address will get looked up by the DNS server, and then an IP address will come through, and that's what you'll actually communicate with. And you can see this happen in the command prompt of your computer by using nslookup and then the domain name that you want to go to, and it will return the IP address that's associated with that domain. So common DNS servers, there's a ton of these, and they're all free, and they work in a web fashion, so they're always more or less identical in the information that they're serving. So really, it just depends on what's easily memorized by you, or if you're really concerned about it, the speed at which they return information to you. But by and large, you're going to most likely be using something like Google, which is 8.8.8.8 and 8.8.4.4, or someone like Cloudflare, which is a really large backend provider for the internet, and that uses 1.1.1.1 and 1.0.0.1. And you'll notice that we have two IP addresses that we're putting in here for our DNS servers. That's just a primary secondary thing. So if the primary goes down, you still have something to fall back on to pull up your lookups if need be. Next, we are going to look at the host file. And the host file is very similar to DNS, except it's not done from a server. It's done locally. So prior to DNS, prior to servers existing that did these lookups for you, there was a file on every device that sort of defined a domain name's IP address. So you could set up your own domain that looked up to a specific IP address if you wanted to. Today, this is largely used just to override a DNS server or give you additional flexibility. Examples are on the JS8000, you've got 127.0.0.1, which is your loopback, and that is routing to or looking up to localhost.localdomain and localhost. And then you've got the IPv6 version, which is just : 1, and that will resolve to localhost 6.localdomain6 and then localhost 6. And then just remember that those IP addresses, both the v4 127.0.0.1 and the v6 : 1 are your loopback addresses. And that's it for DNSs. In our next video, we'll be looking at DHCP, which sort of brings all of these last pieces that we looked at: IP addresses, subnet masks, gateways, DNS servers, brings them all together and gives out that information automatically. See you then.